I've logged into Office 365, the solution that the GAA uses for email and other services. So email might be our primary service, but the one really useful component of this solution that hasn't been widely used by the GAA to date is the OneDrive feature. So to access OneDrive, you go up to the top left hand corner where the 9 dots are, it's called the application launcher, and when you click on it, you see the other options, including OneDrive, Excel, and other elements. So I'm going to choose OneDrive, and when I want to use OneDrive, or when I get to OneDrive, think of it as the GAA facility to allow you to store your club files or other GAA unit files under your 365 account, where they can be accessed using any device, etc., that you want to use your 365 account, your official GAA account. So this means that instead of storing files on our own personal hard disks or our own USB keys or other devices where the club has no long-term control over them, if we store our files on OneDrive, then as new office holders come in to club secretary or treasurer or other roles, the files that the current holder may upload and work upon under OneDrive are then available long-term to future users and future account holders and office holders in the GAA. So in my case here, I'm using a training account, Training 9, as you'll see in a minute, and this OneDrive account is empty at the moment. So there's no files in it, there are no folders in it. So when you're thinking of using it, you can just drop files onto it if you wish, but ideally you'll consider using folders, just like you would on a hard disk or on a USB key. So to create a folder, click on New and choose the folder option. And we're going to call this folder Club Docs. So when the folder is created, among the interesting features we can see is it tells us who is the user to modify it, which is Training 9. There's no files in it, it's empty, and it isn't shared at the moment, it's private. So the modified by columns and the sharing columns will become more important as you learn about OneDrive. So as I said, this Club Docs folder is empty. So I'm going to just prove that by clicking into it, and it's empty. Over here on the right hand side, I'm looking at my hard disk, and a folder in the hard disk, and I have a few files here. I'm just going to copy from my hard disk up to the cloud, up to this OneDrive account, and I'm going to drop them into the Club Docs folder. So you just highlight them as per normal, drag and drop them, and after a few seconds the files will appear up on the OneDrive feature or component of your Office 365 account. The 5 files have arrived, and what I notice here is that the person who's done that job is Training 9LA, and their status is private. So the 5 files aren't shared with any other users. So if I pop out of the folder, I can just navigate back by clicking on the Files option, and I'm back on the equivalent of the root directory. In other words, the base folder. So that gives me a facility on OneDrive to store accounts, to store files and other resources. So then, what I can currently do is, the files are currently under my control. Nobody else has access to them. So I can go into an individual file, and I can decide to give somebody else access to it. So as I said, currently its status is private, but I may want to give it to somebody else. Or if I wanted to give the entire folder to somebody else to work on, I could share the entire folder. So you have the options of sharing individual files or the entire folder. And that idea of sharing files with other users, both inside the GAA and possibly outside the GAA, will be looked at in future clips.